So we're talking about videos with a bunch of tiny people, and I just realized I didn't show you this tiny thing we got running around. Say hi to Phoebe, everybody. Or as I like to call her, weaponized cuteness. Seriously, look at this. Look at this.
War has changed.
Who's good little clickbait? You are? You are? Oh, you're gonna get so many views? You're gonna get so many views here? And welcome back to another episode of Why Don't You Love, or in this case, Why Don't You Like? Alright, I'm gonna let you out. It's getting a little hot in here. Gotta get you some water. Say bye to Phoebe, everybody. Don't worry, she's gonna be fine. I'm gonna get her some water. So this episode is more of a Why Don't You Like episode. I should probably explain why it's on the Secret World of Arrietty. Ever get on one of those late night IMDb searches? You're like, you start out with, how did What's-Her-Face get in the new Spider-Man movie? And then you end up searching up like all these old Disney stars. You're like, oh, that's what they were famous for. I was a junior in high school when that was popular. Oh, that's what that person is doing in that movie. Oh, that's what that person from The Sweet Life, Zack and Cody, is doing now. There was a Fairly Odd Parents movie? Just stuff like that. And then I ended up getting to Bridget Midler for some reason. I'm like, oh, I kind of remember that show, maybe, a bit. But then I remembered, oh yeah, she was in that Borrowers movie made by that studio that Chris Stuckman won't shut up about. I'm sure Japanese animation is great, so I'm sure there's a reason everybody's into the animus and the mangoes. I'm not into the weeb stuff, guys. As for counting Samurai Jack, I kind of had my fill of that sort of animation stuff back when Yu-Gi-Oh! Was on and I was 6. But as one does, I was like, oh, hey, I wonder if that movie was any good. So I watched that movie at 3 in the morning. It's not the full college experience unless you can listen to Shinedown's If You Only Knew and have it actually be 4:03. And I can't sleep! But I watched it. I watched the entire thing in the middle of the night, and you know what? It was actually pretty good. It was a lot better than I was expecting. The Borrowers is kind of a simple concept. You got people living in your house. No, not like the Arrested Development way. I mean like little people. No, not like that movie, which actually the first 2/3 of that is pretty good, then it gets hokey. But the first 2/3, that's a creepy movie. You got little people who live in the house and borrow stuff, and you know, it's a pretty simple concept. The movies vary from being good to being and it makes sense that they'd go to animation because there's more you can do in animation. This seems like the sort of world you really want to capture the size of stuff. Man, can you imagine if Gareth Edwards did a Borrowers movie? Holy cow, that's... Please, someone make that happen. Somebody make that happen. That'd be awesome. The cast of this movie, yeah, I know there's a Japanese cast because originally this was a Japanese film and then it's dubbed. I'm sure there's actors and actresses who voiced over all the other dubs. I'm doing the American dub because I'm American. I speak English, yes. So that's the cast I'm going for, and holy cow, this is a pretty solid cast right here. You got Bridget Midler as Arrietty, you got Amy Poehler as the mom, you got Will Arnett as the dad. That's a trio I want secretly living in my house. Like, again, not in the weird way, not in the way where I have to ask, like, hey, why haven't you gotten a job in 6 months? Like, the quirky way. You know, where they're secretly stealing. There's no way for me to word that in a not weird way, is there? The point is, they're likable. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Even though they're not given any funny lines, this isn't really a jokey movie, there's still... They bring some charm to those voices. They play their characters really well. Arrietty's that typical, like, outspoken adventure, like, no, I want to go do stuff because I've been locked inside. It's the Disney princess thing. Except there's a little bit more character depth. Like, she's afraid when she's supposed to be afraid. She's not like a Mary Sue character. Like, she's believable. Also, she's a little bit less Disney princified in that, like, she doesn't trust everything in the world. It's not like nature itself comes to her beckoning. It's like, oh, you're friends with, like, a pill bug or an ant or whatever. Like, that makes sense. You're roughly close together in scale, that makes sense. Stuff that would want to eat them wants to eat them. There's some dark stuff lingering under the surface, which I like. Kids' movies need that. Kids' movies need to have some dark to them sometimes. It's good to not treat the kids like they can't handle stuff. They can handle some tension in movies. I remember seeing a PG thing where it was PG because of tense scenes. I'm sorry, I think the G-rated crowd can handle a story arc. It's the basic premise of a movie that you have tense scenes. I don't know, man, it's weird. Anyway, she's a likable character, she's adventurous. Will Arnett's playing not a typical Will Arnett role. He's likable. The dad's just kind of a likable guy. He's world-hardened. You get why he doesn't like the humans, and it totally makes sense outside of the house cleaner person who I'll get to in a minute. But just in general, it makes sense why they wouldn't trust each other. It's set up in a great way. The world is built really well here. And you know me, I like a solid world. That's like #1 on my list of, hey, will I watch your movie? Do you have a solid world? Are you taking time to invest in just where we are and how that relates to the characters? Alright, I'm watching your movie. Great. Then we've of course got the kid. We always have him in the Borrower's stories. The kid who finds Arrietty and is like, oh, that's neat. I think this is the most ambiguous that the age difference has been. Usually they've set him as like little kids so they don't be like, oh, hey, friend, compadre. This is the one where it's most like, okay, like, I'm not saying there needs to be a romantic subplot. I'm just saying acknowledge that they're both teenagers at this point. At least I think I don't even know what they are. But which always begs the question, why is a kid that age always hanging around the house? When the guy who's around the house is like a really little kid, you kind of pass it off as like, oh, controlling parents or whatever, and so he can't go too far. This one, he's in his teens, so they need a new thing, and actually, they do give him a reason for why he's constantly bedridden and constantly just in the house. You can probably guess it just by the way I said bedridden, but like, it's actually legitimately tragic. You do get that he does bring some really heavy stuff to the movie and does bring some themes on bravery and real world applications of that sort of thing. And even though I joke about like the just friends thing, like yeah, okay, whatever, but I did buy their friendship, and the end of the movie, like, look, it's not like Logan. It's not like something where you're like, okay, I'm destroyed for a couple hours. That's the saddest thing I've ever seen. I'm feeling. But yeah, no, I am legitimately, like, at the end of this movie, there's a line that Arrietty says where I'm like, oh, yeah, that's, I'm getting some feels here. I'm feeling some things. I'm getting the chills. I'm not crying. I'm just saying, I'm feeling things. There's some heavy moments in this movie, and it's all earned. It's all genuine, and none of it's manipulative. All of it comes from genuine character development. It doesn't feel forced. It feels right. What does feel forced is the nanny, the housekeeper, whatever her name is. She hates these borrowers, and I don't know why. I don't see a reason why she would. Maybe because people think she's crazy. She wants to prove to the world that she does see little people on the walls, but then, like, she calls an exterminator immediately and is like, hey, let's kill these things. Like, what? What is your motivation there, lady? Dude, why do you want to exterminate an entire species? Build the wall. Build the wall. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. But seriously, she's easily the worst part of the movie. There's a lot of things in this movie where I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. That's why this should have been a loved movie. And then I see other things where I'm like, fix that. You should have fixed that. The nanny is a huge one. Like, there's so many other reasons why I get why the borrowers think the way they do. The more humans see them, the more they're likely to go investigate and try and meddle in their world, and they may accidentally bring trouble to them. That's a great theme to follow up on. They don't really do that because they have a one-dimensional villain. There's all these scenes with these giant creatures. Like, you get raccoons, and you get dogs, and you get birds, and you get all these creatures that aren't too big, but would be terrifying beasts to people that are these size. And Arrietty picks up like a little thimble, like a little sewing needle, and uses it as a sword. I'm like, oh, maybe that'll come back into play. It doesn't. They don't really have a big fight thing in this movie. That would have been neat to see. It's not a superhero movie. This isn't a Marvel movie. I don't need every movie to end with a big beatdown, but like, that would have been cool to see, right? I mean, come on. Something at some point in the movie would have been cool for that. So great cast, great world, really interesting themes brought up. I feel like they didn't do as much with it. They did a little bit with it. There's the theme of bravery and the theme of friendship and of overcoming prejudices and all that. So that's there, that's interesting, that's cool, that is fulfilled. There's other stuff there, though, they could have done more with. I don't know. I already talked about Gareth Edwards directing that, and that would be neat, but, like, legitimately, a writer or a director could come back to the story of the borrowers and really update it and really do some interesting things with, like, the value of human life and how we treat each other, and maybe immigration. That's a bit of a risky direction to go with it, but you could do that. The Borrowers is all about, like, lower class British people when it was originally made, so I don't see why not. Why not update it? Why not make it a little more clever and still also make it kid-friendly, but have some little subtext they can grow up and be like, hey, that's neat. I like that. I'm not saying politicize it to the point where you're brainwashing kids, but like, play with some of the themes there. But instead we get a one-dimensional villain, and it ends super abruptly. Like, the movie's still going and the credits are rolling. Like, so why talk about this movie if it's not great? Well, I talked about Rogue One, and I didn't think that was a perfect movie. In fact, I think less of it now that I see it outside of the theaters, which is kind of awkward because my most popular video is me talking about why it's so great. It's not a great movie, but it's a great theater experience with some great cinematography. Anyway, my point is, I'm talking about this because there's so much potential for a sequel to this, and so much potential for an animation thing done with the Borrowers. And with this cast, because they killed it. This particular group of dubbers, of people who dubbed the thing, they were awesome. I'd love to have them back. There was a point where Studio Ghibli, which is the animation studio that did this, they were dead, but now they're back. Now Mr. Ghibli, whatever his name is, he's back. He's unretired, so maybe we get a Borrowers 2 movie. There were 4 Borrowers books, guys. Like, there's potential for this. Yeah, I know, I googled all of the Borrowers books after this. The Secret World of Troy's Search History. But seriously, there's so much that you can do with this world as far as them interacting with humanity, and like maybe they do get found out. How does the whole world react when we now know for sure they exist, and now they have to stay even more hidden because like now we know for sure, now people are looking for them and all that. I don't know, there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do with the Borrowers, and I hope that they come back to this series again because I like the group of people who made this. It was neat. The movie as it is definitely worth watching. It's a great kids film, it's entertaining for adults, great atmosphere, solid character development. It just could have been more developed and it's not that it's bad, it's that it's good and it could have been fantastic. Also, get Liam Neeson in there. Please just get Liam Neeson in there. I heard there's another Studio Ghibli film that has Liam Neeson. It's like Polio? The one with the fish. The one with the fourth Jonas brother turns into the fish. Or something. I don't know. Ponyo. Jeez, Ponyo. Did I say polio? Just get Liam Neeson in all of this. Just, you know what, screw it. Let's make it a cinematic universe. Liam Neeson is now the Stan Lee of this cinematic universe I just made up. Get it on, Studio Ghibli. I don't care how many speaking lines he has. Just, he can be the mailman. Just have him show up in every movie. Just have him voice a character in every movie. In fact, he can be like that guy from Pixar that just shows up all over the place. Speaking of which, I may actually look, this may not be the last Studio Ghibli film I look at. I may actually have to look at Ponyo at some point. I'm not a huge fan of Japanese animation stuff. Not that I have anything against it. It's just, not super into it, but man, Liam Neeson you can drag me into anything, man. I watched Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans for you, Liam Neeson. You're the best. Please pick good movies, because you know I can't resist your acting prowess. Anyway, so I may check out Ponyo at some point. We'll see how that goes. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video, guys. So what are your thoughts on The Borrowers? What are your thoughts on this movie if you've seen it? What do you think they can do with The Borrowers? Because it seems like every movie's pretty much been the same thing, at least story-wise. This one is the best crafted, best characters, best world building, but I don't know, what are they gonna do differently with the story? Because there's been like, what, 5, 7 Borrowers movies? What can we do to mix it up a bit? So I think Gareth Edwards should direct it. I think insert talented writer here should write it. But if it's gonna be animated, just bring this team back. Let's do it again. And let's do one of those 4 sequels and give it a good ending. Because even from what I've read, even the last Borrower book ends on kind of a weird note that leaves nothing resolved. So you can finally give a definitive ending to that, be it tragic, be it hopeful, whatever it says about humanity. I don't know, guys. Just leave your thoughts down below. It's, yeah, what do you think of this, guys? Ooh, yeah. And we're out of the world, covered in ash, where everything is yellow, and we're into the land of reading comments, where everything is poorly lit and blue. I can't win, guys. I can't win. Lighting is hard. Working with natural light is hard. And it's not any easier when Captain Cheesecake is on the case. I'm totally kidding. I appreciate hard feedback as far as my production quality. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think the last one felt especially more reverby than the past couple. I'll definitely look it over a few more times. I messed with the settings a bit. So at least these sections, the comment reading sections, should hopefully sound a little different. Basically, in order to avoid having my images come out blurry, I had to just pump up the aperture, and so like the depth of field changes, but then it gets darker easier. So I had to just pump the room full of light. It's still daylight outside, and I also have to turn on all the lights, and so I had to take the pillows down from that window over there that I was using to block out. And so maybe that was it. I wasn't really soundproofing the room, but I did have to move some stuff around to let in more light, so maybe that had an effect. I don't know. I'm gonna mess around with the settings for the next couple weeks and see if that does anything. I don't know. Thank you for the feedback, though. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate stuff like that. Also, Manny Kerr likes my short film. That's awesome. I appreciate that coming from you, man. That's awesome. Anyway, kind of a quick segment because I have to film 3 of these over the next couple minutes. Because, well, as I'm going to explain in a minute, I'm going to Hume. So here's me. Take it away, me. And I'm going to be gone for Hume this next week, but you guys are still going to be getting 2 videos. They'll automatically be uploaded unless something goes horribly wrong. First video is going to be an important channel update, and I'm promoting something. Second one is a fun with editing video, so nothing too special, but you get 2 of them this week, so how about that? Also, I can't find the second Hume Lake trailer. I wanted to do a review on their full trailer for the theme this year, but I can't find it. So I'll just let you know how the movie goes. I'm going in completely blind, so we'll see what they do with that cool night theme. But anyway, guys, love you. Thanks for making this channel as awesome as it is. And until next time, God bless. Stay saucy.